Hi everyone, I'm Nathan, and this is the Road to National Masters series. Tournament details are in the description below, and this game I was lucky to have survived. So, my opponent, he played e4, and I played an opening I've never played before, the Sicilian defense. My opponent usually goes for the Alapin with c3, but this time he went knight f3. But it actually ended up transposing because I went knight f6, playing the Nimzowitsch variation. Um, it looks pretty fun. I was like I was studying this opening a little bit. And it looks kind of fun, and I decided, I'll just play an over the board game, and let's see what happens. He advanced the pawn, and it actually transposed back to an Alapin. So even though he didn't start with the Alapin, it ended up being an Alapin anyways. I play knight c6, just developing like normal, controlling the d4 square as much as I can. And he plays bishop c4. I know there's two moves here. There's knight b3, and there's also e6, was what I played in the game. Apparently, there's a decent amount more theory after knight b6 because the bishop goes back, and you can even go c4. And it's a very interesting position where black has more space on the queen side, but white has more space in the center and maybe even more attacking possibilities. So, but I just went for the apparently more solid move of e6. Um, yeah, I was wondering if taking is ever a move. I don't think it's that good because after black takes back, even though they have these doubled pawns, it's nothing to worry about because you just play d6, and at the end of the day, you do have the bishop pair. Even if white does something like takes and takes, even though you have the isolate queen's pawn, black is totally fine here. I think. I don't really know, but I assume that's the case. Okay. Anyways, but he did not take my knight. Instead, he castled, and after I play d6, now he takes first actually, and then plays d4. I actually wasn't sure whether queen takes or bishop takes is better, so I actually thought for a few minutes here. My opponent was playing basically instantly, um, which like probably for the next 4 to 7 moves, I was spending at least 3 minutes, 3 minutes a turn, 3 minutes a move because, well, and which is kind of worrying because it's a game in 45 delay 5 game. So if I get too low on time here, it can be kind of scary. But luckily, I think I actually managed my time really well considering everything that happened in the game. At least in hindsight, I mean. So I ended up going queen takes, and I'm trying to remember my exact thought process here because, well, after knight, I think what I was worried about was like after d4, like let's say I take. Now maybe there are some cases where white is starting to take, and maybe that's not like in this position. Well, I guess in this position I have queen c7. Oh, but then knight b5, which isn't good. Although this pawn is hanging, but you can't take it. I don't think. Yeah, because now your queen's hanging. I don't know what's happening here. So I don't remember why exactly I dismissed bishop d6. Maybe it's not that bad. I mean, white can maybe even go queen g4 next, potentially. And I'm not sure if castling is very good. Maybe it's fine. But maybe I don't. But I'm not sure if black wants to isolate the pawn like this. I ended up opting instead of bishop d6, queen takes d6, which for some reason felt more solid. But maybe bishop d6 is a decent alternative. I'm not really sure. I'm very new to this opening, so I will definitely have to check that. I'll definitely have to check the difference and to see if it's okay. But I was kind of happy with queen d6 and putting my bishop on e7. He went d4 and I took. I think you're always supposed to take if they play d4. Not 100% sure, but it felt right in this position. And after he took with the knight, I was planning to play bishop e7. And then I was like, oh my god, that loses. And I was like, oh no. Knight b5. And black is cooked. Because, well, you have to guard against this fork. So if you go queen d8, bishop takes. And if you take with the queen, well, there's a knight fork. Okay. Well, just take with the pawn then. Well, queen takes pawn. And after queen takes, well, still a knight fork. And black is very sad. And black is losing. Black is not only down a pawn, but the king's in the center of the board. And this is bad news bears. So I was like, oh, I can't go bishop e7. That's not good. So I took. On d4. And after he took back, now there's pressure on this pawn. So I can't go bishop e7. I mean, maybe I could. This knight guards the bishop. And this bishop guards the rook. So maybe. I don't know. This looks kind of dicey. I'm not gonna lie. Whoops. Especially because of this. Well, then maybe I could just take like this though. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I didn't really calculate gambiting the G pawn. I thought about it, but I was like, no, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that. But maybe it's okay. But if I had to put my money on it, probably not. In this position, I just played knight f6. And I honestly after this whole thing of not being able to play bishop e7, I was thinking to myself, wow, I got nothing out of the opening. Like, nothing. Like, I got nada. Like, this opening amounted to nothing for me, which is kind of sad because, well, I'm playing someone 200 points lower rated than me. Like, I want to get something, and I played a new opening I've never played before. So I was like, yeah, I'm sure this will be fine. I didn't get anything out of it, and knight f6 was my admission that I got nothing out of the opening. Like, that was my admission, and he checked, and I just blocked with the bishop, and we traded, and we just developed like normal. And after I castled is when he finally took my queen. I didn't really consider anything else here. Like, maybe I guess you could consider queen. Oh, whoops. Queen b5. But I just thought a4, and I'm like, I'm not taking this pawn. Why would I ever take the b pawn and allow the rook to get in and allow so much activity? Like I'm never gonna take this pawn. So I was like, how am I supposed to ever avoid the queen trade? I didn't think it was possible. So I just castled. And after I castled, he finally took my queen. And here he moves his knight onto better squares. And I think white is just always slightly better, just because their pieces are on slightly better squares. The most likely result is going to be a draw, just because both players' positions are very solid. But I was thinking here for a while, and I was like, I don't really know. Like, bishop f6 maybe, and I was like, I don't know. I don't like whenever his work gets on the 7th rank like this. I'm not sure about it. If I don't go knight e5, where else am I going? If I go here, I double my pawns. Oh, I double my pawns and still allow the rook to come in on the 7th. And then I was like, well, maybe knight f6 then. But maybe he can go bishop g5 and take and go here. Although this is probably just fine. Although I was worried about trading like this and losing this pawn in the corner. So I was like, okay, well, if I go knight f6 and then after rook here, if I go here, well, now he can go bishop here. And I was like, oh my god, that doesn't look good either. So I was actually not liking my position at all. And also my opponent had like 15 more minutes than me in a game in 45 game, because he was playing really quickly, and I was taking my time. I was spending at least 3 minutes a move. And so it's kind of the issue when you play an opening that you don't usually play, I suppose. That's one way to interpret this. Well, especially for my opponent in particular, Nick, he kind of studies openings a lot, and he knows his openings very, very well. So maybe this wasn't the best time to experiment against a person like him. But anyway, so to me, this position was kind of unpleasant because I was just thinking of all the ways I could not have a good position, and I end up making a horrible, horrible mistake. I honestly don't know what to do here. Maybe just rook d8, and after rook fd1, and then maybe just a6, and I keep my knight here for a second. Although I don't like how he doubles his rooks. I don't like it. I don't like it. Maybe now bishop c5. Maybe. But then I don't like this either. But maybe you can just take once. Go king f8. I'm not sure. I mean, this is interesting. This is interesting. Maybe black is still okay. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. So yeah, maybe rook fd8 immediately was a better idea, and then maybe a6 or maybe even b6 to just put the pawns on dark squares first. I just didn't like how if I ever move the knight, then knight e5 can go to c6 very easily. So I was kind of against the idea of b6 because I was like, oh man, what if the knight gets to c6, and if I play it really slowly, like b6 and then f6, then I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? You know, like what am I doing to myself? I don't know. I'm not sure here. Like I'm very afraid to go into an end game with a move like this, for example, because he could just go bishop takes. Yeah, maybe bishop takes. And I can't take the bishop because of rook takes, and rook takes. And then, so I think I have to trade a pair of rooks. I could do this, but then his rook gets on the seventh rank, I mean. And so yeah, this position, the more I look at it, the more unpleasant it is. And maybe that's my issue. Maybe I just need to learn how to play these types of positions. But this position doesn't look good. I don't like it at all. Anyways. But the move in the game was very bad because I played bishop c5 and he plays rook fd1. And it's bad news bears. I actually spent a decent amount of time trying to make rook fd8 work. And I was like, oh man, if he takes, I can take. And then if he takes, well, now I already have the open file. And then I was like, what am I doing? Why was I calculating this move? Because he just checks. He does an intermezzo move, and now I'm just down a piece. And I was like, oh, that was really stupid. Why was I calculating that? And I don't really have any alternatives. This knight is hanging, and if I move the knight, this bishop is hanging. So I just take it. And when he first played this move, I was like, oh no, knights are better than bishops. This is not good. Just something about me, like I've been outplayed when I have the bishop and my opponent has the knight so many times, especially against higher rated players. Like they just outplay me with the knight, and it's so annoying. And so now I just always joke that the knight is better than the bishop. And so I was like, oh man, the knight's better than the bishop. So he does not take back isolating this pawn. He takes the knight instead, and now my bishop's hanging and this pawn is hanging. And I literally have like half his time. I have like 20 minutes. He has like 40 or something like that. Maybe it's 35 minutes versus 18 minutes or something like that. But for the life of me, and he admits it too, he does not know why he did not take this pawn. Like, it's just a pawn. And even though after a move like rook fd8, like his rook is not trapped, even though but it doesn't have many squares. It can't go here, it can't go here, it can't go here, it can't go up or down. So it's not trapped. It's sort of trapped, but like I can't attack it at all. And he said that he didn't want me to take the open file, but I actually can't infiltrate on the open file. And he's just straight up a pawn. And what makes this position really good, he checked it with the engine, was a4, apparently. So yeah, I guess he could have done this. And this would have been very, very, very good for him. I have no counterplay because my rook is this knight and this rook stop my rook from infiltrating, and there's nothing I can do. He's up a pawn, and he's going to force his bishop off of this diagonal. So he was straight up winning here. There is nothing else to say about this. Like he would be winning if he just took the pawn. But instead, he's like, he wants to have complete control of the open file, and he just plays rook a d1. And I was like, okay. When he played that move, I was like, I just breathed a huge sigh of relief. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm okay now. I guess go rook fd8, and I'm fine. I thought he was going to go knight e5, and I would take, and if he takes, I would take, and we could do something like this, and maybe he might try to attack this pawn, or I was like, but it's probably totally fine for both sides, no matter what happens. But instead, he goes knight g5, and I was like, okay, same thing. I take, and I go rook fd8, and he takes. Of course, if he takes this pawn, that would be very bad because that's back rank checkmate. So he's not going to blunder that, of course. So he just takes, and he offers a draw, and I accept. And I didn't want to accept, to be honest. I was like, ooh, can I maybe get away with this? Like, can I maybe just go bishop e7? Can I go f5? The answer is no, because both pawns are hanging. And I was like, I've lost to the knight when I have the bishop, my opponent has the knight. I've lost to the knight so many times. I don't think I'm gonna play this out. Plus, my opponent has double my amount of time. Like, I have 15 minutes, he has 30. So I was like, do I really want to do this? And yeah, the game just petered out. We just, we accepted the draw right here on knight e4, and that's the game. So I was very, very lucky to survive my first ever game with the Sicilian. And so we're going to run this game through the game review, and subscribe for more content like this. And I hope to see you guys in the next one.